Hello Flosstube, my name is Laura. It is Saturday, February 8th, and I have decided to jump into the world of Flosstube. I have been so inspired by the talent of the Flosstubers out there, and I have been watching so many people as I've gotten back into cross stitch that I was excited to try joining the Flosstube community myself. So if you've clicked this on, welcome, and thank you for joining me on my very first Flosstube. So a little bit about myself. I started stitching 30 years ago. A friend of mine in college introduced me to it and I loved it. And I stitched quite a bit, mostly flowers, scenery, that kind of thing. And then I got to grad school. Another friend introduced me to rubber stamping, which I fell in love with, and stitching kind of went to the back burner. I stamped for a long time, had kids, and at that time, everybody seemed to be scrapbooking if they had kids. Creative Memories was popular, along with a lot of other companies. So that was what I really was into. Until digital scrapbooking came around, I wasn't so good at that. So I went back to stamping. My kids were getting a little bit older, so I created an online store to sell my cards and other stamping products. In 2010, I went online. In 2012, I started an Etsy shop. And since then, I have kept the Etsy shop and created my own storefront as well. So I am still online as a stamper, although I think that has a shelf life. And in a few years, I will be ready to wrap it up. I've enjoyed it and it's been great, but as time moves on, we change, and I think that will end up closing at some point. But in the meantime, about 6 months ago, maybe the end of August, beginning of September, I started to get the stitchy bug back. It had been over 25 years. I don't know why, but I thought, what happened to my cross stitch? And maybe I should try it again. Since I had stopped cross stitch, I had moved multiple times, gotten married. So we're talking 4 or 5 houses, apartments, the whole bit in all that time. And in all those moves, a pile of bobbinated flosses and this bag of a few projects and patterns made it through all those moves. Everything else that I had was probably either sold or given away, which is sad because I had a lot, if I remember. This is the local needlework store in Connecticut, Thistle Needleworks. Back then, 30 years ago, they were in Glastonbury, Connecticut. They are now in Wethersfield, I found out. I was excited to see that they were still in business all these years later. And I have stopped by a time or two, as well as discovered the world of internet patterns, e-patterns, digital patterns, as well as places like 123 Stitch and others where I can get so many new designers and products. So I'm having a blast with that. So when I wanted to start back, I had a project actually that had been halfway finished and sat there for 25 years. It was a leisure arts pattern. It was this hummingbird quartet book, and it was this hummingbird right here was the one that I was working on. So I pulled it out. I still had all the flosses and everything. You'll see the fabric, while a little wrinkled, made it for 25 years through all those moves, no stains, no problems, and I finished stitching it. Now, back then I stitched on 14 count Aida. White and black were the 2 colors that I usually used. I still love Aida, but I have graduated to 18 count. So that's what I have been trying since I've gotten back to cross stitch. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. This pattern kind of screams maybe some sort of frame. I've given some of my cross stitch before, a long time ago, to my mom. Maybe I'll give this one to her as well. I don't know. We'll see if she'd want it. So after that, I tried deciding what my style was. What did I want? I ordered some digital patterns. I ordered some in-hand patterns, and I've been just working with that and seeing what I like. I've started with more smaller projects so that I can see if I enjoy it, and I have loved it since I have gotten back into it, and I think it's here to stay for a little while. So in the course of the 3-4 months at the end of 2019, I found myself going crazy with starts. I probably started 14, 15 projects, and well, probably more than that. I probably have 14 or 15 whips right now, and I have a couple finishes. But I'm okay with that. Having works in progress doesn't bother me. It doesn't give me any angst about it. I enjoy the process of stitching, not so much having a finished project. So if I carry over a lot of projects, I'm okay with that. I recently watched Kenny Stitch's whip parade of 180 stitches. I am so impressed by his talented stitching and how many whips he has. So I feel okay with the few I have. I haven't figured out stitching rotations yet. I don't know how many I want to start in a month. It's all still so new, and there's so many things to stitch that I'm still working all that out. So it's a work in progress. If I figure it out, then I'll let you know. But for now, I'm just enjoying the stitching part of it. So I figured what I'd do is I would show you what I had started in January and my one start so far in February. I have one finish for 2020, which is exciting. I'm a slow stitcher, and I probably only get about an hour a day, so I'm still working on trying to get things finished, but that's okay. So my first finish in 2020 is actually my first start is actually my only finish as well. So I pulled out Country Cottage Needleworks Beach House, and you're gonna see a lot of summer stuff, a lot of beachy stuff in my upcoming stitching. I was Christmased out after December, so you're not going to see a lot of Christmas at the moment. And I have reasons for that. I can't really talk about them right now, but eventually I will be able to. So everything you see is 18 count. I've got a piece of 28 count that I bought. I haven't had a desire to try stitching on it yet. I'm enjoying 18 count, so I'm rolling with it until I feel the need to try something else. So this is the finished project. Everything is the DMC colors. I am also enjoying stitching with DMC. And so until I feel the need or the call to try fancy floss, I'm rolling with it. I had flosses from a time ago, and I have Michael's and Joann's and Hobby Lobby's and all those near me. So it's very easy to pick up floss, and that's what I've been doing. If I change colors, I'll let you know along the patterns if I decide that a different DMC color works for me. This one, I did use all the colors because I loved the little blue house. I loved the colors and the shades of the green, and I wanted to keep it the way it was. This is on Vintage Mocha. I really like the Vintage Mocha Ada. So you'll see a lot of times that I have quite a few projects on that. My second start for January was from Plum Street Samplers, and it was, what's this called? A Country Winter. I love that house, and I love those trees. So I had to stitch it. This is done on Confederate Gray, so it's a little bit grayish, a little bit bluish, and that's what I have so far. I'm actually making a pretty good dent in it. I just have the trees on the other side of the house and the snowman and the rest of the outline. What I didn't realize, this was stitched on 36 count, the model. And if you notice the snowman way over here, he is holding a little bit of a quilt square. That quilt square is actually stitched over one. Obviously on 18 count, that's not something that I can really do. I'm not going to try to figure out quarter stitches with that. So if you look at the snowman, I think he might be able to do it without holding anything. And I don't think you'd know that he was missing something. If it's really obvious that he's missing something, I might try to design a little square along the lines of this that would work the same size as him. It would have to be tiny. So we'll see. I'm not sure what I'll do with that, but it's in the back of my mind. Going with the beach theme again, Carriage House Samplers, Comfort Lighthouse was my third start actually, that I did. I loved the lighthouse. I love lighthouses. For years and years, we took our kids to Maine and we would visit the lighthouse in York, and they loved climbing the rocks, and I have just great memories of that time. So I was immediately drawn to the lighthouse as well as some of the other symbols that went with it. I don't have much on this one. This one is also stitched on Confederate gray. It's got a little bit of blue tinge to it, so I kind of like it. That's all I've got so far. I'm really kind of surprised because I am enjoying stitching it. I don't mind stitching long blocks at a time. It doesn't bother me. So I'm not sure why I put it aside, but for some reason I did. I know this is not going to get finished anytime soon. I was thinking maybe I would choose a little section to finish each month. So maybe in February, try to get the lighthouse done, then maybe the crab or the house, and each month do a little bit more so that I can work my way through it. Be nice to get that one done by summertime. And then 2 more starts in January. This is completely different colors. It is Country Cottage Needleworks, welcome. And I just love that red house. I have a white house currently, but I do have a red door. So I like the red idea. And this is what I have so far with this one. This one is done on very light pewter. It's funny, when I ordered this, it's coming off really gray. It's a little bit bluer than the Confederate gray. And I wasn't sure if I would like it and what I would try it on. But I am liking the blue tinge on that one. Sorry for the wrinkles, it's very wrinkled. I stitch in hand and I seem to make them wrinkly, but that'll get ironed out in the end. Anyway, I have gotten all the top done. I just have to finish down here and then the welcome words and the final thing that repeats up here, down here. So I think I can get this one finished by the end of February. I'm finding that I'm not switching patterns every day for stitching. I haven't gotten that rotation in. I seem to want to stitch something for 3 to 4 days or so and then change it out again. So I'm working on that, and that seems to be what's working for me right now. So this has a couple more days before I would get tired of it and rotate it out. Maybe I will get closer to finishing it by then, and maybe by the end of February it can be a finish. The last one I started in January, which is kind of funny that it was the last one I started in January, is Country Cottage Needleworks, the January house of the month. This one I started twice because I originally started it on sand. I wanted it a little bit lighter, I thought. And I thought so until I decided I did the snow up here at the top of the house. Now up here and over here are all supposed to be snowflakes, but when I saw how the white floss blended in with the fabric, I wasn't loving it. So I stopped. And so I said, let's try it on the Country Mocha. So I pulled it out, and this is actually, this side is the right side of the Country Mocha. You know how it's got a little gradations in color. It's a little darker. But for some reason I had flipped over, and this is the back side. The back side's a little lighter and it has no variations in color. And it just, right away I said, that's perfect. That's what I want for this house. And I am really enjoying the colors on this color fabric and this part of the fabric. So I'm glad I made that choice. I would have finished the house, except I was plugging along, doing all of these windows when I made that one a window by accident. And I thought, could I fudge it? Could I change the size of the door? But I wasn't loving that. So I had to pull it all out and restitch the door, which was a little bit tougher than sometimes it is when you pull stuff out. So that pretty much killed my stitching mojo for this one. Also, January ended and I wasn't sure, do I keep stitching January into February or do I put it aside? So I've decided to put it aside. My goal is to have it finished for next year. What I'll do with it, I don't know. I have a couple ideas, but I'm not sure which way I'm gonna go with that. So I do have the February house on order. I do not have it yet. Ironically, I'll probably start that at the end of February. So I will start them in their months when I want to do a month, and probably it won't get done until 2021. So in February, I only have one start so far. February 1st, I gave myself a start. I have loved these word plays by Brenda Gervais, And this one is the July wordplay. I was having some trouble finding them, and I ended up ordering July, October, November, December. And I do want some more. I don't know if I want all 12, but I do know I want some more. I liked this one, so I picked this one up as soon as I saw it. And this is on the Country Mocha. Again, all DMC. So the patterns that are all charted in Fancy Floss gave me a bit of a challenge, but I found these charts. Thank goodness for online searching. I found the charts to switch to DMC. Now, with some of the Fancy Floss colors, they give you options, and they say, well, it could be this, 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 or this for DMC. So I pretty much pulled all of the choices, and as I go along, I'm trying to figure out which one I happen to like. So this is what I've gotten so far. The words go really quickly. The boat's taking me a while for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but it is. The one thing I don't know with the people, 2 teeny tiny people in the boat, what's a good color of DMC for faces? The one that they suggested is very peachy, and I'm not sure that I want to go that route. So if you have a suggestion, if you could leave it for me, I would really appreciate it. I used to know all the colors and the numbers. I still remember 310 and 321. Those were the 2 that came back to me right away. Oh, and the 430, the low 430s, 433, 434, 435, all those. It's funny what you remember 30 years later. But a lot of the colors I don't remember, so I don't know what's out there and is available. So if you have something that you would suggest, I would really appreciate any help you can give me. How many starts in a month, I don't know. I'm not sure how many I'm going to do. I do have 2 more on the burner for February that I think I'd like to start. But that could change, whether it's those 2, others, more, less, I'm not really sure. So the first one that I do have plans for, that's already kitted up for the most part, is Country Cottage Needleworks, and this is Surfside Cottage. Again, beach theme. Super cute, I like the flowers on the top and the bottom. Now, fabric-wise, I had actually picked up this. It's really showing light. It's a lot darker in person. This is light antique blue. It's not as light as I thought it would be, but I don't hate it now that I have it in person. I actually do like it. I am wondering if the words will show up. So I might take the floss color that's recommended for that, try it out a little bit on the corner of the fabric, see if it'll work, decide if I like that, or maybe I want to change the color out. But I do think I want to keep this fabric as the fabric of choice for stitching this one. I have not got into the world of hand-dyed fabrics yet. I have coffee tea dyed. Thank you, Priscilla and Chelsea, for your wonderful tutorial. And I have found a woman on Amazon that sells nice Aida 18 count white and ivory that I have been coffee tea dyeing. Doesn't shrink very much, looks good. I'm working on trying maybe a little less of the variations of colors, light and dark. Few things I want to give a try. I want it to be a little bit more evenly colored, and I haven't quite done that yet. So I'm working on that, but I do have some things that I'm stitching on coffee tea dyed, but I'm not sure I'm ready for Rit dye. So I have discovered, there was someone on Etsy that I want to give a try, and I've got a couple pieces from Picture This Plus coming from 123 Stitch as my Valentine gift to myself. And on Kenny Stitches, he talked about a lot of his were on hand dyed by Stephanie, or fabrics by Stephanie, I'm not sure. And she does 18 count Aida, and I found some colors that I liked. So she is in my wish list as well. So I may jump more into some of the hand-dyed fabrics. I just haven't entered that world of stitching yet, but I think I'm heading there. And then the last one, I love this one. As soon as I saw it, it is Annie B's folk art, and it is Widow's Walk. I love it. I love the whale, actually. That's the first thing that drew me to it. I don't know if I'll do the words. I may just keep the pictures and not do the words. I'll leave that to the end and decide. And I have to do a shout out to Annie B's. I ordered this from 123 Stitch, and I was so excited, pulled it out, wanted to stitch it, And I must have gotten a bad batch of printing because the pattern and the symbols were, they were kind of fuzzy, and it looked like when it had printed it, it had kind of moved in the printing. So when you look at it, you almost get dizzy. So I found Annie B's on Etsy, and I contacted her, and she got back to me right away. And I explained my dilemma. I said, I don't know what to do. I can send you pictures to show you. What should I do? And she was so gracious. She said, let me play around with the pattern. She actually cut the pattern in half to send me 2 different sets of pictures. She changed some of the symbols. She cleaned it all up. And now it is really nice to read. So shout out for awesome customer service from Annie B's Folk Art. I contacted her through Etsy, her Etsy store, and she was so wonderful and so helpful, and I can't wait to stitch this one. I just don't know what fabric I'm going to do it on yet. I don't know if I want to do the antique blue or if that will fade in too much. I'm wondering if I want to do a hand-dyed, which means then this would have to wait a little bit longer before February. So that one's up in the air yet. We'll see what happens. But I really can't say enough about how great she was and how cool this pattern is. So I'm excited to start that one. And those are the patterns that I have thought about for February. I keep changing my mind. I think maybe in a rotation, I might pick a part of a month to work on Christmas patterns. In end of November, beginning of December, I had this great idea for 12 Christmas stitches. And so for 12 days, I started a new Christmas pattern. Well, then Christmas came and all the craziness that led up to Christmas. And all those patterns have been sitting since. So I'm wondering if I pick one a month or I just stick with one until it's finished and take a certain time each month to just work on that so that I feel like I can get some Christmas finishes in there before the craziness of Christmas in 2020, or those will just keep following over. I'm not sure on yet. We'll see what happens. But it's all new to me, and we'll give it a try and see what happens. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still with me, I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time. I'm thinking maybe every 2 weeks because I'm a slow stitcher. If that changes and I have more to show, then maybe I'll do it sooner. But for now, that's my plan. We'll see how it goes. So thank you and happy stitching. Bye.